All right, hello everybody, and today we are just going to be talking through a couple of technical concerns. Obviously, right now everybody is using Zoom or some variation thereof in order to still be able to conduct business. And I am still planning on doing a regular webinar next week where we talk about specific issues relating to divorce. But I've had so many questions come in this week. Just very specific questions. How do I do this? How do I prevent this from happening? So I thought, let's just have a half an hour check-in to answer some of those questions. I have a few pieces prepared, and then obviously let's move to your questions. So, okay, now that I've moved, I'm not on a stable surface, so I apologize. I know that's a big no-no, so the screen is bouncing. Okay, there we go.
And your eyes are twinkling.
I know, isn't that fun? I have twinkling eyes. There's like fairies on top of my head. It's like magical Zoom. Okay, so screen sharing. All right. So one of the first things that I heard was how to make Zoom more accessible. So I heard some accessibility concerns. And so I've been testing out closed captioning with Zoom's closed captioning capabilities, but what I also found was that if you're presenting in Google Slides, then you can turn on captions with Google Slides, and it seems like these are much more accurate. Isn't that fun? So I'm going to be testing this for a little bit during this call, and you can let me know which one seems like it's a little bit better. All right, so first, Zoom bombing safeguards, right? This is the big hot topic of the last 24 hours. So what can we do first to prevent Zoom bombing? Number one, this is something that we've already talked about. When you're actually in your meeting, drop down to participants, click on more, click on lock. Okay, that prevents anybody extra from actually joining your meeting. So that's something when you're in the middle of a meeting and you realize, oh my gosh, I forgot to protect it. But we have a bunch of things that we can do that I wanted to make sure to review before the meeting even starts. And I wanted to say I had all of these set up, and then Zoom issued 2 updates, and I went back to check on them right before this meeting, and everything had changed. So just be aware. I've heard this from a couple other people. Right now, there are a lot of changes going on with Zoom, right? They are under constant scrutiny. They are continuously updating everything. So what that means is some of your settings are being tweaked, right? There are new options being added. So especially before a really important meeting, go back and double check your settings. And this is what I went to check to make sure mine look like. Before a really important meeting, I would send out a unique meeting ID. Normally, I do this one, which I consider a little bit more public, right? Just the clairefowler.com/Zoom. What that means is that anybody can join. So whenever I'm doing confidential data, I'm actually working with clients, we're discussing confidential concerns, that's when I use a unique or a private meeting ID. Other options in your settings, you can require a password. You can set up a waiting room beforehand where people are held in a waiting room. And what's fun about that is you can have a nice little image with a text above it saying, welcome to Fowler Mediation. Claire will be with you soon, or something like that, so that people feel welcomed. And then you actually let the right people into the room. What can be really nice about this is if you let your participants join before you, then they're not sitting in the meeting arguing and getting more and more positional and more worked up before you have a chance to come in and set the stage. So I also have mine set up that participants cannot share, or they cannot do a remote control, or they can't even chat with each other without host approval. And again, that's just when I'm doing mediation. If I'm doing a training or something, it's different. So I wanted to check in with all of you. Is that how you have yours set up as well? Or have you found another option? Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, I like to have everything locked down.
Yeah. And it's tricky because I really want my parties to feel welcomed. I want them to be engaged. I want them to feel like I'm really eliciting their feedback, and I want them to communicate as much as possible. But yeah, but I don't want them to share so much that we end up getting Zoom bombed, or that, you know, they can share something that would be detrimental to the process. Go ahead, Meyer.
Are you talking about sharing your screen? Is that what you're talking about? In other words, they're not allowed to use the share button, the green share
Right.
button.
Well,
Okay.
I say that they can if I give them the control to do that.
Okay, and that's in the settings.
Yeah,
You just
exactly. Okay. And so I allow them to share and to remote control if I approve them. And then if they start sharing something really crazy, then I have it set so I still have the authority to stop that sharing.
When you say control, what types of controls would you give them? I can't imagine giving control to a participant.
Yeah. So an example would be, let's say that I am, let's say I've set up a whiteboard. So let me just show you what that would look like right now. Stop share.
I see. They can mark on the whiteboard.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let's say I'm trying to understand, okay, so your house was here and there was a tree here and the party's trying to explain it. And they're like, no, just let me show you. So then I would give them remote control and they'd say, no, the tree was actually right here. It was right in front of the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Claire.
All right.
Yeah.
I have an example because I've had to start doing these sessions online. A lot of people are scared of technology. So I had to share my screen with the clients because they were even scared of a very simple DocuSign program. So this was a hard session because it was all the paperwork at the end.
Oh, yeah.
So we sent the paperwork, and then for me to see where they were stuck on the signing, I shared my screen. And so I could see where they were. And I said, oh, okay, you have one step left. Just click on the blue button. And then they did that. And then I took control back.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, so I know that there are a lot of people who are scared of that, of giving clients control, but I feel like for the most part, I want to err on the side of whatever we can do to help clients, right? It is scary. It's a transition for most people. So I agree. Let's have whatever steps we can to make this helpful. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my screen.
I wanted to ask just a moment about the DocuSign. Are you finding that that DocuSign is working well for you? It's worth the investment?
Oops.
Oh, gosh. So Adobe's got all these levels of cloud, you know, it's all software as a service. So I have one of the minimum levels because really all I want to use Adobe for is to sign, to merge, to convert PDFs. It's not my main document storage, but now they just changed it so that very low level, you cannot even edit documents in Adobe, which is sometimes convenient, but I just download it, convert it, and edit if I want.
Okay.
But I'm talking about what you just. We got an invader here.
A Zoom bomber?
An eavesdropper. Yeah, we've got an eavesdropper there. Yeah. No, I was talking about DocuSign.
It is through Adobe. So I apologize. It's called Adobe Sign. So that's what I'm using.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's what I was wondering, whether you use DocuSign. Does anybody use DocuSign though? Nope. Okay. Just curious.
Sorry.
I'm doing a lot of real estate deals now and it's all DocuSign. So that's why I know.
Yeah.
I have just started using something called Verifile, VERIFYLE. And I heard about it through the Legal Document Association for California. It seems to be pretty good.
So how do you pronounce it again and what does it do? So describe it.
It is a complete, secure communication system with your clients. So you can have cases and threads within the cases and make sure, and it helps to keep you from sending an email to the wrong party. And it has it looks like pretty extensive document signing capability. I'm just really practicing with it right now, but it seems to be a pretty comprehensive solution and it's not very expensive. I don't remember. It might be $10 a month or it might be $15.
Okay.
What's the name of the program? VERI?
Colin-
V
Yeah,
is in
Colin just
victory?
sent us a link
Oh, okay.
in the chat.
Okay.
Verify. Okay.
Yeah,
It-
thank you.
Well, I just want to write it down. VERIFYLE.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay. So here are some of the other concerns that I've been hearing. What do I do if I have low bandwidth? I don't know about where you are. Some days it's really good, but some days I can tell that everybody and their mother is home streaming Netflix. And I've never had an issue with bandwidth, and now suddenly I have to be aware of it. And so my suggestion for that, make sure that you're able to use your phone. And what that means is before a meeting, you want to download Zoom on your phone, not just download it, make sure that you've also logged in, and not just log in, but make sure that you remember what your meeting ID is. So I have saved that number, because if not, one day I was having bandwidth issues and I thought, oh, it's okay, I've prepared for this. I have Zoom on my phone. And then I went to Zoom and I was like, well, I have no idea what my meeting ID was. So just word to the wise, it's not just downloading it, but it's that extra step of being prepared. Another one that I found that's really good for screen sharing and connecting with clients, something like join.me, where you're not sharing as much of your video, and so it seems to it just seems to require a lot lower bandwidth. That one has been working pretty well.
What is it again?
It's called join.me. And I like this one as well because it is very user-friendly. I think it could even be more user-friendly than Zoom. It does not have as many features, so it's just a backup. But it's really simple.
Does join.me have breakout rooms?
Nope. No, I think so far Zoom has the monopoly on that. I've heard that what you were talking about, Kevin, that Microsoft is trying to come up with a version that has breakout rooms, but I haven't seen it happen yet. So
No, they
yeah,
haven't. They're just collecting requirements right now. I imagine they're hard at work building it.
I bet.
I sent you a link. If those of you that are interested in that, I'll get the link. I'll post it up here on the chat here in just a second.
Great.
But you can post up your ideas on it. And there's some really good thinking already on it if you go through it.
Go
Sorry,
ahead, Kevin.
I have a question about that's related to breakout rooms and privacy. I did my first practice mediation yesterday, and what we discovered is that people can, on their own, either decide not to go in the breakout rooms when I send them there, just stay in the main room, or come back into the main room and in face-to-face. Of course, I have some control over that. Is there any way to prevent them from just hanging out unsupervised in the main room?
Well, so what you want to, let's say that you're mediating with a husband and wife as an example. So you want to make sure to set up 2 breakout rooms and set it up manually so that you're making sure husband and husband's attorney is in one room, right? Wife and wife's attorney is in the other room. So that means there should, as a default, there should not be anybody in the main room. So if I join one room,
but
right. So then
question is,
if they leave their breakout room
from unilaterally deciding to hang out there.
I think once you put in their join, you're forcing them into the breakout room. They don't have a choice. And all of
that's what I discovered.
Yeah, that's not true.
There's a way that the participant can stay even though you've assigned them to a breakout room?
Right. They have to actually accept.
That's what I discovered.
Okay, they have to join breakout room. You got it. Okay.
And then they can come back early without me noticing unless I look at whether their little dots are red or white in the breakout room list. So there's no way to avoid that, Claire?
I haven't seen any way to prevent them from coming back into the main breakout room. Roger just said that it's a settings issue. I haven't seen anything like that in settings. So if you have found a way to prevent that, please let us know.
I have.
Okay.
I just put the parties on hold and you have complete control.
Oh, right.
So I put one party on hold So I haven't used the rooms because I'm not talking to them both at the same time. I put one party on hold. They cannot get back until I release them. And then I
That's
put
a
the other
good
party on
idea.
hold.
So 1 second, I'm going to log into my settings here so you can see what she's talking about.
That's cool.
Yep, that is a good idea. Okay, I think it's right here. That is clever. Okay, so let me get, I think we're right here.
No, I actually stumbled on it. It wasn't that clever.
Well, it
But
works. You should take credit.
Isn't that the way we
There we
learn?
go.
There it is.
Yep.
Allow host to put
So-
attendee on hold.
Mm-hmm. Right
Ah,
there. Yep. Good call. And so I'm just in my Zoom. I'm in the website version of Zoom, right? There are 3 different ways you can interact with it. The website version, I've downloaded a desktop version, and then there's your phone. So right now I'm obviously in the website version, and to get here, I went personal settings, and then in settings, that's where you can control all this stuff.
What other settings do you recommend?
Yeah.
Could you, for example, do you put mute when joining?
I
Or
don't.
You don't.
Especially
I've heard
if they're
both.
going to be in a waiting room. I don't. If I'm doing a training or something, then yeah, I'm going to have everybody muted. But if I'm just meeting with 2 clients, I want it to feel as welcoming as possible. You know, I really want them to be encouraged to speak right away. And again, if they're going to be in a waiting room, then I can control when they're entering, so I know they're not going to be screaming at the other party, you know, waiting for me to get there. So that's my take on it, but I can really understand the other approach as well. But as the mediator, you want to control things and set the tone before you let them just run wild. Does anybody have?
Yeah, one more question about putting the the attendee on hold. When they're on hold, what does the attendee see? Where are they? They're not in the main meeting room?
Nope.
They're just in limbo.
Yeah, so let me show you. There we go. I think you can see what I have. Yeah, so I just, mine says, welcome to the mediate.com waiting room. We will let you in soon. I also have one that's more personal. Welcome to Fowler Mediation. Your mediation will begin shortly. And then I just uploaded a picture of a little waiting room.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you can set it for whatever you want.
how did you do that? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Do that one more time.
So I always just search for it. I go Control
I know
F.
how to set up a waiting room, but just the slide part.
So in waiting room, after you've enabled it, then down here at customize, there's that little pencil, right, that lets you edit.
Oh, great.
Yep, and there will be a little, where this picture is, there's a little button that said upload or something. Add image, maybe. Yeah, and I found some beautiful images, and I completely customized them with my logo, and I added all this beautiful stuff. And then afterwards saw, oh, by the way, it cannot exceed 400 pixels. So heads up, it is a small logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you do that with your account, you're still able to use the randomized Zoom invitation number so that you can avoid the Zoom bombing issue.
Yep.
Cool.
But again, I often set up a waiting room, and if I'm going to use my public one, then I will lock the meeting afterwards. And so I haven't really had to worry about Zoom bombing. I control when people can share things. You know, if it's just going to be a couple of people, I lock the meeting so I know who's going to be there. Yeah, so that.
When you don't, you have people like me that bomb your meeting this morning, by the way. So sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. I was going to use that as a perfect example of. And there was a time when I forgot to lock a meeting this morning.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
There's one other thing I want to mention. It's not related to the settings. It's related to the agreement with Zoom. I learned this from a friend of mine who's quite tech savvy yesterday. And when you sign up for Zoom, at least it was, I believe they're changing their user agreement now. They had rights to everything that you did on Zoom. So if somebody brings that up, meaning that would violate the confidentiality that we are guaranteeing our clients. And so it's something to be aware of and stay on top of.
Wait a minute. If you do not record and we just have these meetings like, just for 2 hours and then you leave, you're saying that Zoom has a record of everything that has gone on in the meeting?
You have to check the user agreement. I don't know what the particulars are, and I don't know if they're holding the recordings that you make or if they're recording or monitoring what you're doing as you're going along. I don't know, but it's in the user agreement is what I understand. So it's worthwhile checking it out.
Right.
Staying on top of that.
So a couple of pieces that I had heard, you want to make sure that you are not saving chats. So you're not allowing your participants to save chats, and that they're not allowed to save captions right there. Because they said all of that stuff was saved in the cloud, meaning that Zoom was saving it for you. In other words, they were saving all of the details of mediations, and I'm sure they were doing it to be nice, but they were still saving confidential information. So yeah, so I've turned off the ability to save chats and save captions. So I don't know if that's enough. I would like to look into the agreement more and find that out.
Yeah, if somebody finds out about that, let us know so we know whether to have a disclaimer that we can't assure you that Zoom doesn't have a record of, but I can't imagine that they have a record like of a normal conversation. I mean, that would mean millions and millions of records now that would have no use for them.
Except for a lot of people are saving their meetings to the cloud.
Well, that's different.
Right, which works for things like this, right? When we're doing a training. And this isn't confidential. But I think that's why we just want to make sure that we're not recording mediations. I've heard of a few people that are doing that just so they have a record of it. I'm like, what are you thinking? First off, if you're recording this to the cloud, who knows where it's being saved? And then second, you're telling people it's confidential, and then you're recording everything that they're saying and doing. So I don't understand that. All right, I had a couple more pieces that I wanted to go over, but I'll be flicking back to my settings in just a minute. So a couple people have said, hey, I don't have very strong Wi-Fi at home, so I'm just going to use a public Wi-Fi. And I mean, first off, don't. But second, if you have to, then I like the idea of downloading a virtual private network. If you can't do that, then at least try to set up a hotspot on your phone that's password protected. So, I realize right now we're all in transition. And so sometimes you have to sit outside the library in your car because that is the only strong Wi-Fi you have that moment. So I understand, just there are some ways that you can protect yourself, a virtual private network or a password protected hotspot.
How good is the access by just, let's say if you're on AT&T or T-Mobile and you've got a good, let's say, mobile phone with camera, how good can you conduct a meeting in that situation? And by the way, can you even use breakout rooms on a mobile app?
I haven't tried mobile. I haven't tried using breakout rooms. I can say the visuals are great as far as being able to see other people, read screens, for people being able to see my face. I think they're great. The downside is it's so much more complicated to do stuff like this, right? To share documents, to flip back and forth between things. Hold on, I'm seeing another chat come in. Any idea how much data would be used? Good question. I don't know. I would guess offhand, half a gig to a gig. So yeah, so this might be a time to invest in more data if you need to. I have conducted quite a few mediations just on my phone or using my phone as a hotspot. And I wanted to set everything on HD, right? So it was the highest possible resolution. And so it probably did eat up a lot of data. Okay, couple features that I've had people ask about. Breakout rooms.
I have another question
Go
about
ahead.
about the device. I mean, you've been talking about using a phone as a backup. My next choice would probably be using an iPad as a backup.
Absolutely.
Although I won my iPad, so I have very little experience using it. Is the Zoom like very different on the iPad than on the PC?
I don't think so.
Can you set it up originally for breakout rooms on the iPad? Because when I was trying to figure this out on Sunday, it seemed like you needed to do that on the original, whatever Gizmo has the admin controls.
Well, while we're talking, I will just do a quick check on my phone and we'll find out. Okay, so I'm going to be checking while my background, I'm just turning off virtual background. That's driving me nuts. So let me, it actually looks like some of you are still trying to set up virtual background. So let me show you really quickly how to do that. Okay, so we'll go share. So what I'm doing is hopping over here into settings. And again, I downloaded the desktop version. And so I'm clicking on virtual background and we'll change that to none. So there we go, ta-da, there's Real House. Okay.
But you can do that also from the stop video button, that that caret that goes up. If you click on that, it says virtual background and you can have a choice of which background you want.
You're right. Oh,
you can,
nice.
You can just leave right out.
Right. So much easier, thank you. Okay. All right, I am.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. So at the moment, it does look like, hold on, I'm gonna mute for just a second. All right, it looks like you might be able to enable breakout rooms on the app version, but I don't want to double check that because then I'll get weird feedback. So, but it looks like you can. All right, so I wanted to just double check everybody knows how to do this. So I'm back in my settings, in meetings, so I'm down at the bottom, advanced, breakout room. Oh, and that's so funny. See, this is a brand new setting. Yesterday I had breakout rooms enabled and now it's not. I downloaded a new version this morning because remote support is on. Who knew? There we go. Okay, now, thank goodness, breakout rooms are enabled. And this is also a new feature, which is fun. Allow hosts to assign participants to breakout rooms when scheduling. In other words, especially if you have a really big meeting, you might want to manually set ahead of time, oh, we have this many people who will be there. And so before I would invite them to the, or as I'm inviting them to the meeting, I can assign who's going to be in what room. So that's great, instead of having to muck around with that in the middle of a meeting.
Well, let me ask you something. I ran into this problem. I'm doing a lot of training for all of our mediators. We have 20 of them. So I'm making sure that everybody knows how to use the breakout rooms. Now, what we ran into a problem with was when they're online with, when they try to set up a breakout room in advance of the meeting, they couldn't do it. And you're saying by creating this breakout room button, you can assign participants when they come in to the breakout room in advance?
This is brand new. It's something that I heard was coming. So up till now, it's just been when people arrive in the meeting, then I can manually assign them into the breakout rooms that I want.
Exactly.
But now they're saying, let's say I send out an invite to 5 people, that what I've heard is that you can set up the breakout rooms ahead of time. So as soon as you enable them, people will automatically be prompted to join the correct room. So this is fun. This is a new thing that I'll get to test out later.
Well, the question is, the wisdom of doing assigning in advance.
Mhm.
So all of our cases are from the courts. They
Mhm.
are all heavily civil litigation matters.
Okay.
We don't do family law and probate. So
Mhm.
they're civil litigation of all sizes, all kinds of cases. The problem with trying to create a breakout room in advance is that I don't feel comfortable that you are going to have the right people in the right rooms until you see everybody in the main meeting room.
Sure.
And then you can create the rooms and put participants and explain to them what they're going to experience. So to me, it would not be a good idea to assign participants in the breakout rooms before you have your main meeting. And I think it's a good practice to orient people when they're in the main meeting about this, how we're proceeding, and
Sure.
let them get the feel of it when I assign them to different rooms. So
Sure.
anyway, I'm trying to learn best practices, and I'll tell you why. We are going to certify all of our mediators who can demonstrate that they can use the breakout rooms and know how to do invitations, how to do sharing, and all those things. Once they prove to me that they can do it, we will put by their name that they are an MCLA certified Zoom mediator.
Great. Good.
Yeah.
Good. I love it.
Because there's no standards. I mean, anybody can say I use Zoom, and they don't really know how to use it, and it's a mess.
Right. It's so true. A couple of other things that I wanted to go over. So we talked about breakout rooms. Again, you want to make sure that you're setting those up manually, unless you have a huge training and you just want the system to clump people into places for you. Virtual background, we have tested that out. And what I have heard is that it's actually much better if you're on a PC, if you're on a computer, as opposed to a laptop. And of course, if you have a green screen, that works the best. If your wife will let you set that up, Colin. Polling. So this is another fun feature, which works really well for those of you who are doing trainings. I think it can also work well in certain mediation settings. So I thought we could just practice this just so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so I am setting up a poll. And I set this up beforehand just so you can see what it, what it would look like.
Do you want us to vote right now?
Yeah.
Claire, in designing a poll, are you able to do either check boxes or radio buttons?
With Zoom, the only options I've seen so far are allowing people to select single choice or multiple choice. If you want them to do check boxes or text, then I go to something a little bit more complex, like that poll everywhere that we used last time. But of course, then it's tricky because you have to go out to another software. So I just wanted to show you the option that Zoom has, which is limited, but for something simple like this, it's nice that it's integrated into the system. Okay. So it looks like what people are saying so far is that advanced features are still, those are still kind of tricky. And Jim, I'm hoping that you are seeing the responses to question number 2 so that we can plan out that meeting for next week.
Actually, I randomly selected a response on 2, but I don't do divorce mediation.
Okay.
But it wouldn't let me respond unless I put something.
Got it.
So ignore one of the format responses.
All right, no problem.
Claire, where would I see the responses?
So that's interesting. Are you not seeing the responses? So I'm sharing my screen. Is it not showing up on my screen?
Well, I'm seeing something that says features and then breakout rooms, virtual background.
Oh, how
polling.
interesting. So it's not letting you see them. Wonder why. Okay, let me see. How funny.
While you're searching for that, let me give people a bit of an
I
update.
think you have to go out of screen share.
Well, okay. Do you see it now?
I see you.
No.
That's interesting.
No.
Okay, so that's one of the other downsides of Zoom polling, it sounds like.
I
might
did a
be-
Zoom polling yesterday and everybody could see the results. So there is a way to do it.
Oh, huh. Could be the
There you
big
go.
button that
Now-
says share
now I-
results. That might be it.
There you go.
There we go.
Good.
Okay, sorry, Jim, I cut you off. What were you saying?
Well, I just wanted to alert people. I posted a little bit of information in the chat, and I want people to know that, number one, we've kind of updated the information on Mediate online certification. Some of you have accomplished that, but I'm not sure all. We're also at that same location. You can see information on 2 upcoming courses we're offering online. One is about property and commerce and workplace issues, often involving dollar signs. The other one is a family and divorce training. And for those, I've had a couple of inquiries about people who took the Santa Clara training, and would they be able to access these trainings? And the answer is, if you want to, we call it affectionately a remedial registration. And, but we're going to do it at half price for you all who were in the Santa Clara training. So that would be $245. And if you want to register that way, right when you're signing up, send an email to admin@mediate.com and say, hey, Angela, Jim said we could register for the discounted rate of $245. And when you actually register online, it's not a real-time charge. So as she's getting around to do it asynchronously, she would be sure to get you the proper fee. And it's filling up remarkably fast. I'm stunned. I just sent out notices an hour ago, and we've already had 8 registrations just in the time since that went out. So,
Wow. All right.
Needless to say that the current plight has been, created really a sea change in terms of what mediators need to be able to do, not just because they want to do it, but literally as a matter of professional survival. And so you guys are all ahead of the curve here. And I think this is all a bit of validation.
True. Thank you. So final couple things. And again, this is just coming as a response to questions that people have sent in. So they're saying that clients are scared. This is new for them. Mediation is already kind of scary and frustrating and confusing. So on top of that, to be learning a new software, a lot of clients are nervous about this. So at Mediate, we did put together a video. I tried to keep it at 2 minutes. So, of course it ended up at 9 minutes. Just as a quick intro to clients, maybe it was like 7. I tried to keep it really short, describing the Zoom process for the client end. What are they going to receive? What does it feel like? What do they need to be aware of? So you absolutely can grab that video if it's helpful, post it on your website, whatever, in case you have clients that are really nervous about it. But the main thing that clients have been asking is just, what do I actually have to do? How am I going to know to log on to Zoom? So just let them know your process. Hey, I'm going to send you a calendar invite, or I will be sending you an email. All you have to do is click the link, or you'll click a link to Zoom and then it will download on your computer. So just walk them through what the process is like for you. And then the other big things that clients have been asking, what do I need? So let them know if they'll need a laptop, a phone, microphone, speakers, if they need a wired microphone headset, something like that. ask them to log in at least 5 minutes early to test, and finally tell them what to do if something goes wrong. So, you know, the past procedure used to say you absolutely 110% never give out personal information such as your cell phone number. And I've heard of a lot of mediators now saying, you know, I don't care. I'm using it for my business number anyway. Why not just give it to clients in case Zoom isn't working? So in case clients need some kind of a backup. I can't get in, my internet dropped out, I forgot the password, I forgot the Zoom link, something like that. Then I've heard of a lot of mediators saying, it's okay, you can have my cell phone number. I don't know, I haven't gone there yet. So, oh, this is great. Colin is sending out some wonderful guidelines. So what do you guys think? I don't know.
I don't mean to
interrupt
interrupt you there, Claire. I thought what you were saying was great, and I think your video is wonderful. I just wanted to share that iCoder, the iCoder board has been working on a series of guidelines for video mediation, video arbitration. So I put the links there. They're freely available. You can download them. That's kind of pre-release. So if you guys have any suggestions about how we should edit those guidelines, let me know, because we haven't circulated them widely yet, but we can still make changes.
Okay.
But another great resource, I think this was really helpful. I learned a lot of stuff today, Claire. But my friend Simon Boehm, I don't know if you guys know him, he put up a website called odrzoom.com, and it's just a free Google presentation, Google slide presentation you can click through with some more suggestions about how to use Zoom in online dispute resolution. So just a few more resources.
Great.
Could you give us that information again? The Zoom,
it's in the
Google?
chat.
Oh, on chat. Great. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
But make sure to write it down,
Claire.
because I think I disabled saving chat, just as a heads up.
Oh, no.
Good job.
Sorry.
Thank you. I tried to copy and paste and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So I think, can you send that links and stuff to us by email? Because I'd like to make sure I have that. We're working our own guidelines and protocols for all of our court matters. And so it's really important for us to make sure we have, consistent guidelines with everybody.
Good. Colin, I'll be sending out the online version of this recording tomorrow. If you don't mind just sending me those links again, then I can, perfect. Then I can send it out to everybody.
Great.
By the way, Colin, your office is beautiful. Looks very nice.
I'm playing with my background.
I like
if anybody wants this, I'll send it to you for free. Yeah.
Thanks.
Can I get anybody a tomato?
I love it.
I prefer potato.
Kevin, you can have your tomato. I'm heading out where Meyer is. Or Ken.
I've got Mai Tais for everybody.
All right.
I'm wondering what happens when you show up and you've got the same background as your clients.
Right.
or worse, you've got the same as one of them. The other one is against you. Yeah.
I was on a Zoom webinar this morning, and this guy he must have had a green screen and a beautiful virtual background. And for the first half of the call, I was convinced it was his real office, and the sun was streaming in this window. And then as the call goes on, we see the sun start to stream in this window. Yeah.
So I will show you something else. So sometimes, when you get into the mediation, there's an elephant in the room. So I tell people, we've got to address the elephant in the room.
That's good.
And if we don't address the elephant, then somebody will get eaten up by these creatures. So it's a lot of fun if you do a series of these to break up the tension of
That's great. I love it. That's great.
Isn't that beautiful? Like, there's my friend.
Yeah. Well done. Okay. I went way over. I'm sorry. I always do. But thank you so much, everybody. And again, we'll put this online probably by tomorrow. I'll send you a link. Let me know if you all have any questions. Next week, we're going to try to focus on divorce. I think the week after that, or the month after that, we'll be focusing on real estate. So if you run into any questions or hiccups, please send them in so that then we can address them in our next meeting. So I hope everybody's staying safe and well.
Yeah. I didn't mean to step on your.
But you are saying.
You agree with that 1,000%, Claire. I just wanted to say we're thinking about doing the next online simulation we want to do a family business dispute, and we're thinking about doing it in the latter half of April. So I checked with CREC, and the platform is going to be stable by then. So stay tuned for your email, and we'll send out a notification about it. I was also wondering whether or not you guys wanted to do a video-based mediation simulation, because it seems like that's what everybody's focused on now, in addition to the CREC. So I think we may do the CREC simulation, but we may do one other as well, which is going to be video-based, and then we can all try out some of these skills that Claire shared today. So
Okay.
thank you.
Great.
Great.
You're sending, Claire, you're sending out the chat, all those links to the chat.
Yes, I asked Colin to send them to me. And so when I
Okay.
send you all an email tomorrow with a link to this video, then I'll include all of those.
The
So,
chats.
yep, you got it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Thank you,
Very
everybody.
good.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I hope you
Thank
guys
you.
are well. Good to see you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care, everybody.